TV Crazy Man here, got a new round of classic TV Western goofs for you, where Jim West witnesses a bizarre goof. A man loses his scalp and grows it back fast. Steel bends, possessed hats, strings attached to everything, and doors that lead to nowhere. I found a new batch of funny goofs from the classic Western sci-fi series Wild Wild West, with Robert Conrad as James West and Ross Martin as Artemis Gordon. Sometimes it was easier and safer to use dummies and stunts instead of stuntmen. And sometimes it was more cost efficient to use stock footage. But this goof manages to combine the two, creating the weirdest, wildest goof I think I've ever seen. You see, Jim West is fighting this guy, who's clearly not an Indian. But when he falls into a ravine, he instantly becomes a dummy made up to look like an American Indian. I mean, I know, I just don't have the words. Kind of leaves you speechless, doesn't it? This one may not be a goof technically, as it was probably just done in fun, but this scene is so absurd for Western I just had to put it in here. In the episode The Night of the Golden Cobra, horror legend Boris Karloff is bored by this dancing ape, who's clearly not a real ape, if for no other reason but by the way he's dancing. And then there's this scene that shows up for just a second in the gorilla suit. And then there's the fact that these two guys were easily able to remove the dancing gorilla from the room, which is something that would not happen in real life. No! Later, Boris Karloff throws a knife that clearly does not stab his opponent. I think the actor actually did a great job of dodging it. I used to love to play dodgeball as a kid. On the episode The Night of the Raven, the Wild Wild West goes full sci-fi when Jim West is shrunk down to doll size.
Hi, Artie. What's new?
In the distant shots, he literally was a doll.
Our world!
You know, I have to be completely honest. I'm not sure I'm that crazy over Dr. Lovelace as a villain. Am I the only one? To be honest, my favorite episodes of the Wild Wild West are the ones that resemble regular westerns. And I am a big sci-fi fan. I just don't know what it is. You know, you just don't see many western heroes fighting off giant cats. When West is first shrunk down, Dr. Lovelace has a tiny suit made for him,
Antoinette is quite skillful with needle and thread.
while West's full-size suit is shown hanging up. But when West and the Indian princess finally have their size restored, now clothing apparently grows right along with the person. You know, if they hadn't made such a big deal about clothes not shrinking at the beginning of the episode, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. Next in Season 2, on the episode The Night of the Returning Dead, guest starring Sammy Davis Jr., a night scene becomes daylight and back to dark in a matter of seconds. Sometimes the camera filter method they used to turn daylight scenes into night just didn't work that well. And I can't really blame them for trying. I mean, who wants to work day and night? If anyone knows why every episode of the Wild Wild West was entitled The Night of blah blah blah, let me know in the comments below. Now sure, if you look it up, you'll see things like it gave it a sense of mystery. It set it apart from other Western series. But it seems like there ought to be more to it than that. On the episode The Night of the Fugitives, Jim's hiding behind a door. When the trouble starts, you see Jim going out the door in the mirror, then going out the door again a second later. In this scene, Robert Conrad needed a little assist from almost invisible wires attached to his back, which of course would not be seen on older television sets, but it's interesting to see how they made these things work. Jim West is placed in a coffin the size of a small trailer, even though it seems a lot smaller than that from this shot. He is sent down this chute to a watery grave, which looks mistakenly a lot like the inside of a small fish tank. Then he pulls out some cool James Bond tools from his boot and escapes while instantly turning into the Barbie doll Ken, before swimming off to make his escape. You know, this would have been a good time to plug a new Jim West action figure.
Things aren't always what they seem to be.
On the episode, The Night of the Spanish Curse, Artemis does the old fake rattlesnake trick, causing this bandit to fall into the water that is in the middle of nowhere, that strangely has a concrete ledge on the edge of the water. Was this evidence of a lost civilization, or was this really in the middle of Hollywood, made only to look like a body of water in the middle of the woods? Kind of like the lagoon in Gilligan's Island. Later, during a fight scene, West and Artemis throw a henchman into the camera, causing it to wobble back and forth. But was this a goof or done on purpose for dramatic effect? I've seen this happen on the 70s series, The Man from Atlantis, as well, but then it was clearly a goof. On the episode The Night of the Winged Terror, Part 2, William Shallert guest stars. He used to do a great old guy imitation for Get Smart, if you recall.
Oh dear. That's wonderful. Hurrah, boys! Hurrah!
After a stunt sent Robert Conrad to the hospital once, you start seeing stuntmen pop up in scenes for him like this one. In this scene, Shallert's character and Jim West take off in a wagon in a hurry.
That's not help driving.
That's not William Shallert either. In the episode The Night of the Cossacks, when West is climbing out of a pit, his holstered pistol is missing. The second he gets out, it's back in his holster. Throwing knives, even fake knives at actors or stuntmen, is never safe. So in the Wild Wild West, they put their knives on wires and glided them along. Something probably not easily seen on smaller television sets.
Wyatt Earp! Wyatt Earp!
The life and legend of Wyatt Earp starred Hugh O'Brian as the squeaky clean 1950s TV version of Wyatt Earp, who stood for justice in the Old West. The show ran from 1955 to 1961. Wyatt Earp, or Hugh O'Brian, looks like he was trying to fire a blank here, but nothing happened. Must have been all out, I guess. Here's another prop failure on the episode Bat Masterson for Sheriff. Wyatt's long-barreled pistol prop was apparently made out of something that bends really easy. Hugh O'Brian just goes with it and puts it back into his holster. If it was real, he'd have gotten a really big surprise trying to fire that thing. One goof that comes up a lot is the fake background shadow. On the episode The Bounty Killer, is that an electric power line back there, or tower, or something? What is that?
I think you're making a mistake.
Could be, just don't know. If you ever wondered how they managed to shoot hats off of cowboys without anyone getting hurt, well, they didn't really. They used strings to jerk the hat off.
Formal-like.
This episode guest stars Denver Pyle. He's laid up in bed. Notice it's a normal-sized bedroom. But when Wyatt comes in to help him out, where'd the room go? And on the outside, it doesn't look like there's any room for a room to be there either. Here's one with Brian Keefe that shows no matter how great an actor you are, those doggone hats can be a problem. His is clearly knocked off, but jumps right back onto his head as he falls down. The Californians even had worse hat trouble. Notice where the hat is at this moment. It's on the floor, currently not on his head. That's one determined hat. Will the hat stay down? And stay off, would you? Now, if you think being able to sing really well will help Gene Autry against unruly hats, think again. Watch this bad guy's hat very carefully. That looks like a lighter colored hat to me. Okay, so we shouldn't have any more hat problems now that it's been knocked off his head. Yes, the hat literally popped right back onto his head instantaneously. One thing they ought to have done is let the actor that was playing dead know when the camera was on him. In the same episode, Gene gets into a fight outside this cabin. Notice there is a window on each side of the door, but not on the inside. But my biggest question is, where did the outside go? The world outside the door looks completely blank.
I lost my rabbit's foot. I can't bring Gene anything but bad luck unless I find it.
One of the longest running westerns ever, Death Valley Days, it was a syndicated show that ran from 1952 to 1970. It was an anthology series that featured different characters every week. They have restored episodes on Prime for streaming, and the color episodes are like having the West inside your living room. Oh, for some reason the intro hasn't been restored, so don't let that throw you off. If you look really hard, you may be able to see a few modern items in the background every now and again, like the car in this one off in the distance.
Tales of Wells Fargo.
Tales of Wells Fargo starred future Death Valley Days host Dale Robertson. Show lasted from 1957 to 1962. Leo Gordon leaves a long shadow all the way across to the other side of the street, or he would if the outside background was real. During the gunfight scene, this kid is supposed to be hunkered down right next to his mother, but a split second later the boy is sneaking a peek at the action. I have a feeling that in real life the actor wanted to see what was going on. I always love the X-ray vision view of the inside of a stagecoach. Makes me think Superman just time traveled and is watching from afar. Either that or they have X-ray cameras. Or stagecoaches with no walls. Now that's an interesting concept. I've been watching Tales of Wells Fargo lately. It's a good show. But this particular scene came out a little weird. I mean, first the Indian attacks. He gets hit. Falls. Loses his hair. Then gets back up and runs away with a new head of hair. Man, I wish I could grow hair that fast.
It began late one afternoon in the Wells Fargo office at Rondo.
Morning.
Good morning. It began late one afternoon in the Wells Fargo office at Rondo.
Morning.
Good morning.
If they can't get mail, move about, exchange goods and ideas, they'll perish. That's where Wells Fargo came in.
Maybe I got the wrong show. Seems more like the Wild Wild West. Well, thanks for taking this trip back to the Old West. Hope you enjoyed these unusual goofs from classic television's golden age of television. Please hit like, subscribe, hit the bell, and let me know what you thought in the comments. Thanks again. Y'all have a great day.
Well, adios.